Somebody explained to me how we went from talking about Soto, which was really never going to happen, I get that, and Contreras, and Mancini, and Bell, and J.D. Martinez, and Darren Ruff is what we're left with here.
I tell you what it is, BT. The New York Mets are not trying to win the World Series this year. We know that Stevie Cohen has set a 5-year timeline for this team to try to get in position to win a World Series, but it's not this year. And they used analytics. They explained it away by we don't want to get rid of this guy. And if you look at, the metrics over, the next couple of years with X, Y, Z, then it doesn't really work out and make sense. Now, I got to stop and back up before we start talking about this season. Stevie Cohen came in, bought the Mets. He changed the narrative about this team. We've talked about it since the very beginning. It feels very different than the team that over the last 4, 5, 6 years was always falling apart, or you had an excuse, or woe is me. That Mets team is gone. So Mets fans, don't call and tell us that, because we don't want to hear that anymore. But what was clear at the trade deadline, because all of those names were available in some regard or another. Yeah, I know that the Padres gave up a ton to get Soto and Josh Bell, but the Mets could have given up more. They had the money to spend. They could have done it. Wilson Contreras, he didn't even move. The Cubs didn't trade him somewhere else. It wasn't like there was another opportunity that the Cubs had. It just didn't match with what the Mets were offering. Same thing with J.D. Martinez. Same thing with David Robertson. All of these guys were available. They didn't move. The reason the Mets didn't do it is because the urgency to win a championship for the Mets this year, with Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom coming back and Pete Alonso having this year. I mean, hell, people want to hate on Francisco Lindor, but that dude's raking as of late.
He's playing great.
He's doing
now.
Unbelievable. But the Mets' urgency to win a championship is not right now. They have a bigger picture.
Well, when the hell is it?
I don't know, but they have a bigger picture that's not coalescing into we're going all in.
Oh, wow.
They are not all in this year, and it was obvious.
Yeah.
Because if they were, and they felt like they were right on the cusp, right on the precipice of winning a World Series, we would have seen some more aggressive moves. Now, I'm not hating their moves. I'm not saying that, it was bad to go get Darren Ruff, because you now have a DH platoon. Does that work? I don't know. History says no, but they have a DH platoon. Michael Gibbons, who is a pretty good reliever, has had some good numbers this year with the Cubs. And Buck trusts him.
Yep.
I'm not saying these are bad moves. I'm not knocking the moves. I'm just saying they weren't we're winning a championship this year moves.
Okay, now stop with the rationalization. Here's what I've heard so far from Met fans. There's anger, and then there's rationalizing. And you got to stop rationalizing, because there's no way that you can look in the mirror and not be colossally disappointed by what transpired, or maybe more specifically, what didn't transpire yesterday. Let me get this straight. So the last 13 years, all right, excluding this season, we're talking about a Mets team here, Teak, that has finished below 500 10 times. I know they made the World Series in 2015, but that is 10 out of 13 useless, meaningless seasons that blend into so many other useless, meaningless, and I'm not trying to be, raw here and unfair to the Mets, but the Mets, that's their history,
That's right.
all right?
And 3 or 4 of those years, they had the best pitcher in baseball.
Yes. So here we are, and Phillies are making moves, and the Braves are making moves, and the Yanks are making moves, and the Astros are making moves, and the Padres are making moves, and the Mets think that they're going to win a World Series with a platoon system? I got news for you. I've also heard this a lot. Well, the 2021 San Francisco Giants had a stellar year doing this. Yeah, how did it work out for the Giants? In case you forgot, I'll tell you. No, not the 107 regular season wins. How did it work out in the playoffs with that platoon? Not good. They lost the divisional series in 5 games, and they scored 10 runs in the 5 games. When you platoon, it's like having 2 running backs. Yeah. Do you really have one?
No.
When you platoon, you're telling me you don't really love what you have. And let me read something to you. I need a little music. Anything could fit. Give me music that fits the mood. All right, here we go. Perfect. All right. I want you to listen to what Billy Epler said yesterday. He was asked, good question, how do you balance the long view of not trading top prospects with this year's team that is off to the second best start in franchise history and looks special heading into October. Now, I love the show Billions on Showtime, right? I know you watch it as well.
Good show.
I would expect like somebody from Axe Capital to drop this kind of an explanation for baseball. You ready? Here's what he says. Yeah, we understand what our odds look like. We can factor in different types of acquisitions and see how that changes. What we can also do is factor in the players that we're yielding. Through the forecast and some of the predictive modeling that we're able to do, we can look and see what that actually subtracts from the future and how many years does that subtract out in the future. If you're subtracting a percent or 1.5% aggregate, he actually said this, 1.5% aggregate over a 4 or 5 year period to move up 1% now, I don't think that's how you sustain, which has always been the objective of me and Stevie and Sandy as we put this whole thing together. There's a little more mumbo jumbo. I bored you enough. You can lower the music. So that is the explanation of a team that basically did nothing, in my eyes. Basically did nothing.
I want him to run my portfolio.
Yeah, right. No kidding, right? The same team that told us when Cohen bought the team, we're going to win a championship in 5 years. You have this. You are on pace for the second best season in Mets history, and you're worried about the margins?
Yeah, you're worried about
That's
the
what you're worried about.
Well, I mean, this is the danger of analytics. Now, sometimes analytics work. Sometimes they tell a really good story.
Predictive modeling.
And they put you in position.
What the hell are we talking about
they put
here?
You in position. I'm just trying to explain it. They put you in position.
1.5% aggregate. No, trust me, I'm pretty good with finance. I'm really more concerned about baseball for the show.
By the way, you were reading that, and I know what he was saying. Like, I understood.
So do I understand what he's saying.
I understood the words that were coming out of his mouth. It wasn't like I was hearing, phrases and saying, I'm not computing that. Like,
no, we're not idiots.
I'm understanding the words that he's saying, but why that matters in a sport that is a lot about production. It's a lot about emotion. It's a lot about energy and success. Why that was the explanation it was almost to try to confuse us and take us down a route that we couldn't argue against.
Who is buying that extra wordy and camouflaged response?
Here's why. You can't argue against it because it logically, if you listen to him, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no argument against what he's saying.
But not applicable to this season. Of course it makes sense.
But not applicable to a team trying to win a World Series.
Correct.
And that was my point.
No,
this team is not trying to win a World Series. They're trying to position themselves to win one in the future. Uh-huh. Now, the question becomes, are you going to be equipped to win one in the future, right? Is Max Scherzer, who's 37 years old, going to be Max Scherzer in a year or two? Is Jacob deGrom, who looked pretty good last night,
looked really good.
Really good last night.
That was good to see.
Is he going to be healthy in a year or two?
Or will he be here?
Oh, yes, because he is opting out, as he's told us multiple times this year.
Hearing those Braves rumors.
Is your bullpen going to be as good? Edwin Diaz is a free agent after this year. Is he going to even be here next year? You know that they didn't shore up the rest of the boys. Taijuan Walker going to keep having this good season that he has? Carrasco, is he going to win 11, maybe 15 games this year like he has already, as he's on pace to do this year? The answer is maybe. And so you have that right now. Go after it. In the future, you don't know any of these other variables. Yes, we can bring up Vientos. Yes, you can bring up Francisco Alvarez. Yes, you can bring up whoever the hell else is in the farm system because it fits your statistical model and projections. But there's something special about this Mets team, and they're not capitalizing on it at the trade deadline.
877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney here on the Fan inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Our friends at Town Fair remind you that you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. We're going to get to these calls, obviously, early. Short show. We've got the Yanks and Seattle. By the way, Garrett Cole, Luis Castillo today.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That is a good one. I want to see a little something from Cole. We'll get to the Yankees later. The Yankees moves, obviously. We'll give away Yankee tickets later. All in 12 noon. Our two-a-days at 11:40 for the Jets and the Giants. Right now, up until this point, the Mets have been a riveting movie. Okay, and as much as I can't. again, he's not wrong.
No.
And Billy Epler's a smart guy.
That's right.
Now, does Billy Epler ultimately have the juice to make the trades that Cashman's proven that metal? I don't know. I mean, because you told us 2 weeks ago when you got rid of a reliever that a lot of people liked that it was a robust reliever market and you couldn't even find a lefty. So right away, I'm like, okay. But this is a movie that is better than we expected out of the chute, right?
No doubt.
And it's riveting. It's well written. The acting is very good. The plot twists are really good. The special effects are good. And then it hits a real low at about the 3/4 mark where you're like, this movie's kind of going from awesome to a little boring and confounding. Now, that doesn't mean it can't rally and finish up great. It can have a great finish, this Mets team. But yesterday and the couple of days before that, when the Padres did what they did, the Phillies got a little better, the Braves keep tinkering, the Yankees, the Astros, failure.
Yeah.
And if I'm a Mets fan, I'm pissed. 877-337-6666. All right. Rob, this should be fun today. Rob is in Mawa. First up on the fan, Tiki and Tierney. Robbie, what's happening, Robbo?
What's happening, Rob?
Fellas, what's going on?
All
Hey.
good.
Billy Epler can take his predictive modeling and shove it where. There is not a predictive model in the world. There is not a computer system in the world that can convince me that this team does not need at least a left-handed relief pitcher. He says in his press conference yesterday, Joely Rodriguez, we're expecting him to revert back to his track record. He's got a career 4.8 ERA. What are we doing? The bat, I understand. If no one's dealing Contreras or no one's dealing Martin, if they're just not going to deal him, like I can understand that. But the lefty reliever, think about the left-handed bats that this team is going to need to face in the playoffs on the National League side if they're going to make it to a World Series. Soto, Olsen,
Matt Olson,
Freeman,
Schwarber.
Yeah. I mean, think about the left-handed bats and who's coming in for this team to face a left-handed bat in a big spot.
And I got to tell you, Rob, I know it's one game, but the optics of last night, again, DeGrom was really good, and that makes you feel really good. And we'll get a little bit more into DeGrom in a little bit. But it's not lost on me. The Mets scratch out one run against the AAA Nats team. The Braves hammer 13 runs against the Phillies.
That's right.
13.
That's right.
And they come out, and I've been telling you all summer, and a lot of people didn't want to hear it, and that's fine. The Braves lineup is undoubtedly superior to the New York Mets. Just watch them play. The first five guys smoke the first five guys for the Mets. And the Mets have some good guys in the first five.
But
the Braves are better.
But the reason you're not scared of the Braves is because of
and not about
Max
being.
Scherzer.
You keep using the word scared.
I understand this, but people
not about being scared. It's about being better.
Yeah, but
nobody's scared at the pro level.
Better means we can get on base, we can score runs. But the Braves didn't do that against Max Scherzer. They're not going to do it against Jacob deGrom. Hell, they couldn't do it against David Peterson.
They might do it against that Mets bullpen like the Nats did last night.
Down. I know you're right. I'm not saying you're wrong, BT. I'm just telling you the Braves, while they may be better, can't hit the Mets pitching, right? And so that's the one advantage that the Mets do have. But eventually, you do got to score runs, and eventually, you are going to get into the Mets bullpen. And Joely Rodriguez, who, I mean, I've only become deep into statistics now that we're local, and I'm looking at the two teams, Mets and the Yankees. I dive into the OPS pluses and the ERA pluses. Joely Rodriguez is 70 ERA plus, which is 30% below league average. That's not talking about the top.
But don't worry, Tiki. He's going to refine himself. He's going to rediscover his previous form, which is almost a 5 ERA.
But why? Why do we believe that that's going to happen?
Well, why do you think we're all over Billy Epler today? It's not going to happen.
Because you say it's going to happen?
It's not going to happen.
That's exactly right.
It's not going to happen.
That's why.
Let me make a promise.
He had one great year with the Yankees.
If he is on the mound in a big spot and whether it's within the next 5 games against the Braves, whether it's in September, whether they're trying to stave off the Braves to win this division, which I'm not so sure that they'll do, whether it's October, which I do believe they will be there, you can book this. If he is on the mound in a big spot, he is going to give up a 3-run bomb that's going to sabotage the game and possibly their season. If he's your lefty, No, you're not good enough if that's the case. Danny's on Staten Island, and Danny's on the fan. What's going on, Danny?
What's up, Danny?
Hey, look, it's not that I completely disagree with you because I think this is more of an indication that they didn't fill holes they should have filled in the offseason, notably a left-handed relief pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
But to say this is a lull in a movie, it just doesn't make any sense. They just won 7 games in a row and they get the best pitcher in baseball back yesterday.
Okay. How'd you do it last night?
Oh, we lost last night.
Okay,
We
so
won
no,
7.
hold on, Dan. So
And we
I
also put that pitcher in
promise
baseball back
I'll
on
let
the
you
mound.
I'll let you speak, Dan. I promise. But in the short return since the expiration of the trade deadline, the general consensus, not that the public's always right, sometimes you fade the public when you bet, I get that, but the general consensus by pundits, I don't mean just clowns on social media, is that the Mets colossally failed in making themselves better, number one. Number two, they go out, they scratch out 5 meaningless hits against a horrendous Nationals team while the Braves score 13 runs. You tell me why the Met fan should be feeling good right now.
All right, well, first of all, colossally failed is a major overstatement. They had been getting praise for doing what the Braves model of last year of 2021 was, which filled bats, not with big bats, small bats in a few of them. And to say the short term after the trade deadline, we're not even talking about, 14 hours after the trade deadline, 1 game. They did, once again, return the best pitcher in baseball. I don't think it was a success by any means. But
Okay.
to say colossal failure and your analogy with the movie, I just think that's also a swing and a miss.
All right, I respect that. We disagree. That's and you know what? Eventually, Danny, the good part is we're going to get the answer, and I actually hope that it's the answer that you want. I really do.
You hope that the
I
movie
was really
turns back to an exciting edge of your seat movie.
Yeah, man.
Well, it's going to be.
I want to see the Mets in the World Series.
It's going to be that at times. But the reality is the teams that they have to directly compete against, the Braves and the Phillies in particular in the division, and the teams that they're ultimately going to have to compete against, not that the Dodgers got better, but they didn't really need to. They get Joey Gallo. Is that a win? Maybe, because they don't have any left-handed bats doing anything. But Joey could go out there with no pressure and rake. So who knows, right? The Dodgers didn't really need to do anything, but that's who they're going to ultimately have to face. And the other team, the Padres, won the trade deadline by miles.
Maybe in the history of the game.
That's right, miles. They won the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And so there is a hard task ahead of the Mets. Obviously in a division, but even once they get into the postseason. And, I can't look at anything other than say, all right, they looked at the world and the baseball world and said, all right, maybe we'll win it next year. We're not trying to do it this year.
Let's not be disingenuous. I mean, for well over a month, we took calls and we theorized and we projected what the Mets would do, right? And to a man and woman, most devout Met fans and really strong baseball observers, we expected multiple. Oh, they're going to get Contreras. Oh, they're going to get Robertson. They got nobody. So, I mean, you can't.
And it wasn't even if those guys went elsewhere.
Exactly. Well, one of them did. Robertson did.
Oh, yeah,
Robertson
did,
absolutely did. He went in the division.
That's right.
I mean, what are we talking about
But
here?
I'm talking more of the bats. We were looking more
Yeah,
at
but the
bats.
Mets need bullpen help.
I know.
For 2
they
weeks,
do.
3 weeks, Robertson would be perfect. He's pitched in New York. He's having a great season. Cubbies is stripping down. He goes to the Phillies. I mean, let's not try to reinvent the wheel. What we thought would happen did not. Now, that's not necessarily a fatal blow. DeGrom was good. They've got a lot of good pieces. They're incredibly well managed. But yesterday they failed. 877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the fan. I'm not even sure I love what the Yankees did. We'll get to that a little later. Big one for Garrett Cole today against Luis Castillo, who the Yankees did not get. Trading Jordan Montgomery. Why couldn't you ship out Tyone? Why is he still here? All right, Tiki and Tierney on the fan.